Now on a Playbook Pro, a lot of beat reporters get to dive deep into this team and into the film especially, and one of them is always studying and getting right into the details. Morgan caught up with Alex Barth in 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Thanks, Sam. Back here with Playbook Pro. Alongside me is Alex Barth with 98.5, the Sports Hub. It was cut down the week. The Patriots are down to 53 players. Were there any surprises from you?
Not too many surprises. I think a lot of it had been telegraphed, and it was clear going back to the offseason how much Mike Vrabel and the staff wanted to overturn the roster. Braden Swinson getting cut, a little bit of a surprise, fifth-round pick. Maybe he didn't have the camp you'd think of a player who's going to make the team, but given he was just drafted and the fact that he was viewed as more of a project player coming out of college, a guy you think maybe they'd take some more time to work with, but ultimately they get him back on the practice squad, so they're able to continue to work with him there.
Yeah, and the Pats started with 8 wide receivers at the beginning of the week, now down to 6. What are your thoughts on that room?
I don't think it was that surprising given how they got down to 6. You know, they still wanted to continue to try to trade Kendrick Bourne. It sounds like Javon Baker is going to be back. Maybe didn't want to expose him to the first wave of waivers. I think they have a floor there. I think they have guys that can compete in the NFL and a lot of complementary players. They're kind of in a spot they've been the last few years. It's just, is there that guy at the top of the depth chart that can dictate coverage and be a nightmare for opposing defensive coordinators? You hope that's Stephon Diggs. He's been that guy in the past. 31 years old, coming off a torn ACL. We'll see. He had a good summer, but that now has to translate to the regular season to really elevate that group to the next level.
You mentioned waivers. Who do you think the Patriots need to go get? What kind of position groups do you think they need to go after?
So I think they've rounded things out pretty well. There are 2 waiver claims, a quarterback in Tommy DeVito and a cornerback in Charles Woods. Those were 2 positions where they needed some more depth. Wouldn't rule out another offensive lineman. That's obviously a position where it seems like they might have some moving pieces.
First training camp under Mike Vrabel here in New England. What kind of differences have you seen with him from the past regimes?
I just think going back to last year with Gerard Mayo, a lot of Mayo's practices were the same. They would do the stretch, 1 or 2 periods of individual, and then boom, they were in 11-on-11 with Vrabel. Still doing plenty of 11-on-11 work, obviously, but a lot more walkthrough periods, 7-on-7s, more of that individual stuff. I just think a lot more attention to detail. Again, we'll see ultimately how that comes through in the regular season, but that was the big thing that stood out to me.
Moving parts still happening with this roster. Is there anything that you think could happen in the next coming days ahead of week 1?
I think probably back end of the roster stuff. Again, some of that depth stuff we talked about with the practice squad, things like that. You know, major moves. A lot of those guys have signed that were out for trades. Jacoby Myers is the one name that's still sort of out there, but I don't know how realistic he is for the Patriots at this point. So I think more or less this is the group you're going to get for week 1.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Alex, for your time. Back to you, Sam.